as you raise the energy level, it's like plugging into a computer, the greatest computer, but not enough electricity. But if there's full electricity, there's power there. And most of us have gotten adjusted to a level of energy, especially post-COVID, that we don't even realize because we're like fish in water. It has dropped massively. When I walk around into companies, that's why engagement became so important to me. There's just not the same level of engagement. And no one's trying to deliberately do it. They were conditioned for 4 years to sit still in front of a computer and do anything. And many people before that weren't doing anything. It just magnified it. But when the energy increases, that's my first job, your consciousness increases with that frequency of intensity.
When you said memory,
yes.
Okay, well, there's a physiological explanation
Yes.
for that. Okay, so dopamine does two things. It produces that feeling of enthusiasm.
Yes.
That's why people take cocaine, for example, or
Yes.
most of the drugs of abuse that are stimulants.
Right.
Okay, so it produces that feeling of reward, but that's not all it does. So imagine that there's a positive outcome and that produces some enthusiasm. Okay, now imagine that there's a chain of neurological events that led up to that positive outcome.
Yes.
Okay, what dopamine does is encourage the neural systems that were active just before that positive event occurred to grow.
Yes.
So now that
Actually,
means
you're creating more wiring.
and you're strengthening whatever connections were used
That's
to
right.
have. So
you're going
if
from
you're,
dial-up to
so
a higher level.
if you're increasing the energy and you're simultaneously getting people to configure their goals, and those two things are happening at the same time, that should increase the probability that the goals that they adopt will be instantiated permanently into memory. And then it's also not exactly the kind of memory that you would call to mind to talk about. It's the kind of memory that you see the world through.
Yes.
So that's that's procedural memory. It's a completely different kind of memory.
I get it.
It's the kind of memory that, so let's say you practice applying a certain framework of interpretation to your
Yes.
circumstances.
Yes.
Okay, that practice reconfigures procedural memory, and that's literally that's the rewiring of the system through which you view the world.
That's correct.
Right.
And when you have a new view of the world, you come up with new meanings. And meanings, as you know, we both know, your maps of meaning. My entire life has been, I remember reading Man's Search for Meaning. I'm actually making the film. And it was one of the books that influenced me the most, because the ability to find meaning, even in the most difficult time. And Viktor Frankl, to me, is just a godsend to this planet.
It's a great book.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a great
If you haven't
book.
read it, please, whoever you're listening, read it. Or anybody's
That's
ever
Man's Search for Meaning. Yes, read that book.
It's incredible. But the point of your meanings change, your focus and your meanings change when your energy shifts. And so it's so fundamental to bring that energy up, and most people have no reference for it in their body.